60 Minutes Rewind.
Say Denzel, and most people would know you're talking about one of the highest paid and most popular actors in Hollywood. But 30 years ago, Denzel Washington was just another unknown, struggling New York actor. Today, he's playing the lead in a Broadway play and making standard union wages, a fraction of what he'd make in Hollywood. So we went to see him, and I remembered a story he told me 5 years ago about an incredible prediction that he says started it all.
I was in my mother's beauty shop, and I was looking in the mirror, and I saw a woman sitting across the room from me. And she said to my mother, "Bring me a piece of paper." She said, "I have a prophecy." It's the God's honest truth. I got the piece of paper, and I keep it with me all the time. And she wrote down, she said, "This boy is going to speak to millions of people." I don't talk about that a lot, but I've kind of felt like, well, maybe I have some job to do. Remember the woman I told you about, the prophecy?
Right.
That was 30 years, that will be 30 years ago next week.
Right.
And then I started acting that fall. So it's kind of interesting coming back now, 30 years later, about 20 blocks from where I started.
Romans, countrymen, and lovers.
Denzel Washington's career began on the obscure stage at New York's Fordham University. But today he is headlining on Broadway, appearing in a modern-day production of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. He plays Brutus, one of the leaders of a plot to kill Caesar.
Not that I love Caesar less, but that I love Rome more.
Why did you decide to do this play now?
I thought it was a great opportunity to get back on the stage, to get back to my roots. And I get so few opportunities to get on the stage. So when I do, I really like tackling Shakespeare, which is the toughest and the most rewarding.
There is no terror, Cassius, in your threats.
I mean, it took me 30 years, but I finally am doing what I wanted to do when I started. The actors I started with in college, and we were all snobs, and we thought we would, you know, make $600 a week on Broadway or whatever it was back then. We didn't think about going to Hollywood. That was some Hollywood. You didn't do that.
But he did, and it is his acting in those Hollywood movies that has made Denzel Washington a household name.
Happy birthday, God bless you, sweetheart.
You just made my mother's birthday.
All right.
He's been in more than 30 feature films and won 2 Academy Awards. Best Supporting Actor for his portrayal of a runaway slave in the film Glory.
Today's a training day, Officer Hoyt.
And in 2002, Best Actor for his performance as the dirty cop Alonzo Harris in Training Day.
But I ain't holding no hands, you understand? I ain't babysitting. You got today, and today only, to show me who and what you're made of. You don't like narcotics?
His name has become synonymous with Hollywood box office blockbusters. Most recently, he played Major Ben Marco in a remake of The Manchurian Candidate.
Somebody got into our heads with big steel-toed boots, cable cutters, and a chainsaw, and they went to town.
You've been working a lot since we talked 5 years ago. You've done what? 7 films since then?
Have I? And since what year was that? 299?
99, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of work.
Is it? I mean, work is like, you know, garbage man is work. Acting is not work. Acting is a privilege, and it's a craft, and all of those things, but it's not work.
I read that you get $20 million a film now.
I heard you make that kind of money, too.
I'm not there yet.
You're not there yet?
I'm not there yet.
Are you finished?
I thought I was just getting
Let
started.
me tell you something, son. It may have slipped your mind, but you are addressing a superior officer. You understand me?
In 2002, in the film Antoine Fisher, Denzel played a Navy psychiatrist counseling a troubled sailor.
Cut, okay.
In addition, tackling a new role as the film's director.
I want his face right in our face for our first shot, you know?
Did you enjoy directing?
Absolutely. I'm going to do it again.
And when it comes to one or the other, I mean, you'd like to do both, or do you prefer acting over directing?
I look at Clint Eastwood as the model. I like the way he's doing things, and that's how I'd like to do it. Just segue right on into more and more filmmaking.
A Hollywood director's chair is a long way from where he grew up in Mount Vernon, a working-class suburb outside New York City. His mother, Lennis, managed that beauty shop. His father, Denzel Sr., was a Pentecostal preacher who held down 2 other jobs. Denzel went to church every Sunday but dreamed of becoming a professional athlete. He spent all of his free time here at what was then the Boys Club.
This was an important place for you.
Yep, I lived it. My mother would have to come get me.
So you had a time when you had to come home?
9 o'clock, man. I had a time. I knew I had to get to the fish market by 8:54 and by the chicken joint by 8:56 in order to make it home by 9 o'clock.
Did she ever have to come looking for you?
She did. She would. We were in the park, and she came. They were like, "Ah, dear, your mom's here." And I got in the car, and she was screaming. So I kind of look at everybody out the window like, you know, I got this. As I was turning around, pow! So I put my head under the dashboard. Just drive, Ma, just drive.
Denzel says his mother, Lennis, saved his life when she scraped together enough money to send him to Oakland Academy, a small boarding school for boys in upstate New York. He hadn't been back there for 20 years and was surprised to see his old school being converted into condominiums.
Man, it looks so little now. My God.
Denzel was 14 when he came here, one of only a handful of African-American students.
How did you end up here?
I was in public school, Mount Vernon High School, and my mother decided it was best to get me out of there before I ended up where a lot of my friends are now, in the grave, in the penitentiary.
How were you up here? I mean, were you a bad kid?
No. Angrier as time went along.
What were you angry about?
Come on, let's take a walk in here. Right about here was a chair. And I was sitting in the mess hall, whatever we called it. And they told me, your mother's here. And I said, my mother's here? I said, oh, shit, what did I do? I did something wrong. And I came right about here, sat down, and she said, your father and I aren't together anymore. You're gonna be with me, you know. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but we're gonna work it out. So this is where I found out my parents were getting divorced, right here, right here, right here. I remember it like it was yesterday. So to answer your question about anger, I think I started getting in a little trouble after that, started getting in fights.
And almost kicked out of school, but his mother talked the headmaster into giving him another chance.
You owe her a lot.
I owe her everything.
I assume you've told her that.
In many ways.
The story will continue after this.
Really intimate house.
Denzel made the most of that second chance, building a career that has brought him riches, fame, and critical acclaim. So why would an actor who makes millions for one movie risk his reputation by taking a role that pays $1,700 a week?
What do you get out of it? I mean, when you go through this performance 8 times a week?
It's like retooling. The lights come up or the curtain goes up and it's an actor's medium on stage. And you know, it's flying by the seat of your pants. You got to keep going. It's live. Things happen. We're still going through things. Things fall. Lights don't work. You forget lines or whatever happens. And that's good. That's good exercise.
Cell phones go off?
Cell phones go off. One of these days, I'm going to respond to it in iambic pentameter. Yeah. Answereth that. My Lord, it is for you.
Heavens, I'd rather coin my heart!
This production has traded ancient Rome's togas and tunics for suits, ties, and camouflage. It is set in modern times and is intended to be evocative of power struggles in cities like Washington or Baghdad.
What makes the play Julius Caesar relevant today?
Well, again, I mean, it's what ifs. We do have leaders in the world that think they're gods. I mean, and it's not just governments, it's corporations. It's, you know, unfortunately, not a lot has changed. I think it's a part of the human condition.
Julius Caesar opened 2 weeks ago to mixed reviews. But Denzel says reviews don't affect him because he doesn't read them. Anyway, the show is nearly sold out for his scheduled 112 performances that will run until June. Performances that give him something he doesn't get in Hollywood.
How do you feel at the end of a performance? I mean, this is not an easy role.
Thankful. You know, I run off stage, I wipe the makeup off, I say a quick prayer, I hear the people out there clapping, you get a sense, like, uh-oh, is it 2 bows tonight? Is it 1? Is it 3? You know, and, but a relief, you know, joy. You don't get that in the movies, making movies. All the feelings I'm getting night after night. I mean, people are like, man, you got 100 to go, but I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying every one of them.